Mariana UFO Incident. The Mariana UFO incident occurred in August 1950 in Great Falls, Montana. The film footage of the sighting is believed to be among the first ever taken of what came to be called an unidentified flying object. At 11:25 a.m. on August 15, 1950, Nick Mariana, the general manager of the Great Falls Electric's minor league baseball team, and his 19-year-old secretary, Virginia Roenig, were inspecting the empty Legion Stadium baseball field before a game, and both claimed to saw two bright silvery objects, rotating while flying over Great Falls at a speed he estimated to be 200 to 400 miles per hour. He believed that they were roughly 50 feet wide and 150 feet apart. Mariana ran to his car to retrieve his 16mm movie camera and filmed the UFOs for 16 seconds. The day after Mariana's sighting, the Great Falls Tribune, the city's daily newspaper, described his sighting and the film in an article, which was picked up by other media outlets around the nation. Almost 64 years on, the Mariana UFO footage remains one of the most heavily investigated pieces of UFO evidence in existence.
Projected exactly as it was photographed. The objects are moving against a 25 to 28 mile an hour wind. The frame shows the movement of the objects to be horizontal and steady.
Battle of Los Angeles. UFO Believers claims that Battle of Los Angeles is the most important UFO sightings in history. In the frantic weeks that followed the Pearl Harbor attack, many Americans believed that enemy raids on the continental United States were imminent. 2 a.m. on February 25, military radar picked up what appeared to be an enemy contact some 120 miles west of Los Angeles. Air raid sirens sounded and a citywide blackout was put into effect. Within minutes, troops had manned anti-aircraft guns and begun sweeping the skies with searchlights. It was just after 3 a.m. when the shooting started. Following reports of an unidentified object in the skies, troops in Santa Monica unleashed a barrage of anti-aircraft and .50 caliber machine gun fire. 1,400 anti-aircraft shells were pumped into the air targeting the particular object. Before long, many of the city's other coastal defense weapons had joined in. Powerful searchlights from countless stations stabbed the sky with brilliant probing fingers, the Los Angeles Times wrote, while anti-aircraft batteries dotted the heavens with beautiful, if sinister, orange bursts of shrapnel. And the astounding thing was not one artillery shell could hit the craft, out of all the hundreds of shells that were fired. Initially, the target of the aerial barrage was thought to be an attacking force from Japan, but speaking at a press conference shortly afterward, Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox called the purported attack a false alarm. Newspapers of the time published a number of reports and speculations of a cover-up.
25th, 1942, 100,000 people witnessed something in the skies over Los Angeles. Over 1,400 fired by the military, to no effect.
America is at war. Suddenly, a strange craft appears over the beaches at Santa Monica Bay.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles scene bursting near the object, but none appeared to hit it.
When it comes to the
object was hanging motionless almost directly overhead. In other words, it appeared when I first stepped out the door and looked up, it seemed to be hovering.
How do you
UFOs over White House. The 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident, also known as the Washington Flap, the Washington National Airport sightings, or the invasion of Washington, was a series of unidentified flying object reports from July 12 to July 29, 1952, over Washington, D.C. The most publicized sightings took place on consecutive weekends, July the 19th to the 20th and July the 26th to the 27th. At 11:40 p.m. on Saturday, July 19, 1952, Edward Nugent, an air traffic controller at Washington National Airport, spotted 7 objects on his radar. The objects were located 15 miles south-southwest of the city. No known aircraft were in the area and the objects were not following any established flight paths. Nugent's superior, Harry Barnes, a senior air traffic controller at the airport, watched the objects on Nugent's radar scope. He later wrote, "We knew immediately that a very strange situation existed. Their movements were completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft." At this point, other objects appeared in all sectors of the radar scope. When they moved over the White House and the United States Capitol, Barnes called Andrews Air Force Base, located 10 miles from National Airport. Although Andrews reported that they had no unusual objects on their radar, an airman soon called the base's control tower to report the sighting of a strange object. Airman William Brady, who was in the tower, then saw an object which appeared to be like an orange ball of fire, trailing a tail. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. As Brady tried to alert the other personnel in the tower, the strange object took off at an unbelievable speed. Meanwhile, at Andrews Air Force Base, the control tower personnel were tracking on radar what some thought to be unknown objects, but others suspected, and in one instance were able to prove, were simply stars and meteors. 6. However, Staff Sergeant Charles Davenport observed an orange-red light to the south. The light would appear to stand still, then make an abrupt change in direction and altitude. This happened several times. At one point both radar centers at National Airport and the radar at Andrews Air Force Base were tracking an object hovering over a radio beacon. After some time, the object vanished in all 3 radar centers at
more than a dozen bright yellow or orange lights moving across the stars. Carteret police saw them too. Nobody knows.
In any case, because for the simple fact that it was peaceful.
Very peaceful, very slow, and I just think we witnessed some type of miracle phenomenon. Absolutely.
Arthur killed for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. The lights stopping traffic on the turn. UFOs? Well, News Channel 4 sent videotape of the phenomenon to NASA, the space agency.
The Pentagon UFO videos are selected visual recordings of cockpit instrumentation displays from United States Navy fighter jets spaced aboard aircraft carriers USS Nimitz and USS Theodore Roosevelt in 2004, 2014 and 2015. The 3 videos, widely characterized as officially documenting UFOs, were the subject of extensive coverage in mainstream media in 2017, and later declassified by the Pentagon in 2020. Publicity surrounding the videos has prompted a number of explanations, including drones or unidentified terrestrial aircraft, anomalous or artifactual instrument readings, physical observational phenomena, human observational and interpretive error, and speculations of alien spacecraft.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.